a dark dreamer? It is said that to best enjoy the light, you must first explore the heart and soul of the darkness. We are the artists who create in the shadows, whose dreams are designed to become your reality. I'm Stanley Wiater. Welcome to my world of the dark fantastic. Welcome to the world of dark dreamers. Are you a dark dreamer? Forrest J. Ackerman surely is. Even if the name is not instantly recognizable, it's safe to say there isn't a major talent working in the horror, fantasy, or science fiction genre who hasn't in some way been touched by the contributions of Forrest J. Ackerman. Countless filmmakers, writers, and special effect artists credit his magazine, Famous Monsters of Filmland, as their first brush with the fantastic world of classic movie monsters and literary horrors. But in many ways, editing Famous Monsters is just the tip of the iceberg for this tireless promoter. Ackerman has authored or edited numerous acclaimed histories of the golden age of fantasy and science fiction. He is also a literary agent with more than 200 clients. And Forrest Ackerman is also something of a collector. It is a staggering work in progress, which fills his immense 18-room home in Los Angeles with more than 300,000 items. Recently, Forrest Ackerman invited us for a private tour of his home and sat down with us to discuss his incredible life and career. Why have you done all this?
Well, it's like a man dying of thirst in a desert. You know, if you get one drop of water, you treasure it. And in 1926, when I discovered science fiction, I didn't even know that a magazine was a monthly affair, that I could have another sci-fi fix every 4 weeks. And 4 or 5 weeks and months went by until I saw the same name of Amazing Stories, but it had a different picture on the cover. So I discovered it in 1926 late on that I could have some science fiction every month. And my mother became quite concerned after 3 years. She said, "Son, do you realize how many of these magazines you have?" I just counted them. "Why, you have 23. Can you imagine by the time you're a grown man, you might have 100. It's just that I was so hungry in the beginning, and it was not like today where there's such a plethora of science fiction and fantasy and horror and monsters and everything, that it was like I better hold on to it because there might not be any more.
Could you tell us about some of the people who were fans and young kids and how they ended up?
Well, I brought Halloween to the kids of the country every month, and they grew up, and some of them turned out to be Steven Spielberg and George Lucas and John Landis and Joe Dante and Rick Baker, Monster Maker. And Stephen King sent me his first story when he was 13 years old, and eventually I had him here in my home, and he signed that one sheet of typewritten paper. I've been offered $5,000 for it by a dealer who obviously has a customer standing by.
Whatever happened to Stephen King anyway?
Stephen King, yeah. Well, I don't know if he'd had me as an agent. You know, I have 200 clients of fantasy fiction, but I guess he made a fatal mistake there. He didn't get signed up with me. Sure, I could have done something for him. Well, maybe it's not too late.
Maybe it's not too late. You're still here. He's still here. The most loving people I know are people in the horror and fantasy business, and people look like you must be crazy. And I go, you don't get it. You don't get it.
Vincent Price was flying over to Barcelona to be with me for a fantasy film festival, and said during the flight over, a lady came to him all excited. Oh, sir, could I have your autograph? I can't tell you how many years I've enjoyed your films, Mr. Karloff. So Vincent Price brought Boris Karloff back to life, the only autograph in the world 15 years after he died.
For our book called Dark Dreamers, should be a companion volume to this series collection of photographs, which you were gracious enough to be photographed for and give a quote. The quote you gave was, "I consider the dark side of fantasy to be a relief from the bright side of reality."
Well, in dark fantasy, we know it's just kind of fun and games. They don't really, too many people take vampires seriously, or werewolves, or zombies or anything. But I think it's better to be sort of in the shadows amongst those imaginary creatures than it is in the bright light of day with all the horrors in the real world. I had hoped when 1999 turned into the year 2000 that the world would straighten up and fly right and decide, all right, no more wars, no more massacres. With TV nowadays, we have the glare of the limelight right on reality, and that's a kind of horror that we can't escape. But in the dark realms of fantasy, we can escape for an hour or two. Most every Saturday that I'm home, I have a small convention. There's been 50,000 fans have visited me since I started doing that in 1951. But to this day, people will tell me, well, you really brought back my childhood. You know, I feel like I'm living in an eye candy shop here. See, all of these things that turned me on when I was a kid, and I like to share them now with my young son or daughter or even grandchildren. And it's a great satisfaction to me that the world wants me, and that looks to me like up to my dying day that I'll be wanted. And in a way, I'm this doorway to the past, or a sponge that should be squeezed. You know, I was the resident crazy at high school. Everybody ridiculed my, Forrest Ackerman thinks men are going to the moon. There's going to be atomic power, you know, all these ridiculous things never going to happen. And when I saw that human being setting a foot on the moon, I had a tape recorder. I didn't know what I was going to say or do, but just one word came out of my throat: vindication. Where are all those laughing hyenas now, you know? Do they think about, oh, what about that crazy kid? Yeah, he used to tell us we would go to the moon.
And have television.
Yes.
And fly and, you know, faster than the speed of sound and all that. What a crackpot you were.